In a previous video on mesh screens, I created a mesh screen frame using a window wall system, and then I changed the panel into a mesh screen, as you can see right here. Now, to do this slatted screen, we're going to do the exact same process up to the point of the panel here, and the panel we're going to change. So let's go do that and see what we can do here. So we're going to put a slatted screen on this west wall here, and it's going to be made out of some kind of approximately 2 inches by 4 inches, 2 inches wide. We'll just say 2x4s right now, and we'll build it like it's being done with wood. And the first thing we want to do is build our frame. And as I mentioned in the previous video, I went in and I put in a grid line. Even though it's not a part of the structure, I put in a grid line where I wanted that to be on the outside of the building, the screen. And then I put another grid line here for the other screen. The other thing that I did is, let's go into an elevation here real quick. There we go. Let's go into the west elevation. No, yeah, west elevation would be good. And you can see that I created a level here called the bottom of the screen because I wanted the screen to be at this level right here. So it covered up this spandrel panel. Okay, so now I've got that set up to use, and that'll make everything a lot easier. So to draw this, the first thing I'm going to do, since the base of the window wall that I'm going to draw is going to be at the bottom of the screen, I'm going to open that floor plan up and use it to draw this. And it's got, oh yeah, let's see if we can hide this stuff. And we don't need this either, so we'll hide it. Okay, what we want to do at the base of the screen, we want to draw a window wall system here. So I'm going to go into walls, and I'm just going to use a basic one right now. In other words, with all this is going to be is just one big panel that then we can come in and set the grid lines we want and do what we want in relationship to mullions that are going to become the frame. Basically, we're going to make so we're just going to use a basic curtain wall. We're going to set the base constraint to the bottom of the screen, and of course we don't want it to offset. And then we're going to set the top to the parapet. So we're going to build it all the way to the top of the parapet, and once again we don't want an offset here. And so I'm going to apply that, and then basically I'm just going to draw in a panel. So here is my panel, and I want it to go all the way to this one. We'll just go to the center of that, and there's residue, so I'm going to get rid of that. So now we have the panel. If I WT it, we can see now there's my panel, and what I want to do now is put the grid lines on that. And to put the grid lines on that, the easiest way to do that is from an elevation, actually. So I'm going to open an elevation, and we'll open that west screen elevation, and you can see right there, there's that surface that I created, and we're going to put some grid lines in now. What I want is a basic frame. What I'd like to do is have an opening just like the other right here, where I've got an opening between the screen. I want to do the same thing for a view portal for the slats over here. So I'm going to set my frame based around those conditions. So of course I'll have a frame that goes completely around. That'll be the border of the window wall system. And then I want a slot right here. Here's my finished floor, and I want it to be 2 foot 6 inches up, and then 4 foot 6 inches in open, so the top is 7 feet. And so we're going to go into architecture, curtain grid, and of course, as we remember from other videos on curtain walls, you add grid lines horizontally by running along the vertical edge, and of course vertically by running along the edge here. So I'm going to come in here and pop a grid line. I'm just going to pop these in, and you'll see how I'll dimension them here in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to put those two grid lines in, and the distances from here to here is about 12 feet, and those 2x4 should span that distance. so I shouldn't need any more frame than that. Now I may need it for structure, but that's a structural design issue, and you really need to talk with an engineer or a curtain wall system technician who knows how to do that. So I'm going to go in and create some dimensions here just so I can see. So from the finished floor, I want this one to be up 2 foot 6 inches. Oh, pretty good guess. And I want that one to be 7 feet. So I'm going to set this here, but it's 7 foot 2 inches. So I'm going to modify this and make it 7 feet. Okay, fantastic. So that one's 7 feet. Now let's do the other 6 inches. Yeah, there we go. So, and what's left over is, of course, 4, 6. So now I've got my grids here. I'm going to use peripheral grids, and what I'm going to do in the construction of this is actually use those slats as vertical structure. They should have enough strength to be able to create the vertical structure. So if I create the horizontal structure, when we build this, of course, it'll probably have to be built in panels or panelized. And I can talk about that a little bit later. And we may have to, at points, make some of this go all the way through, but we can do that. So now we have those conditions, so we know where we want our frame. And so what we're going to do now is go back into here and edit this type, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to duplicate it and call it Slat. Makes more sense. Slat screen wall system. Exterior, no panel, and actually what we're going to do here is we're going to, as I talked about in the other video, if you want an opening in the window wall system, what you want to do is add an empty. So we're going to go down here and add an empty panel. And that way we'll just get the mullions by themselves. Now, vertical grid layout, we're allowing my grids that I have to do that. We're going to come in here and I'm going to add the largest mullion that I have. And of course, if you're doing this for construction documents, you're going to do it a little bit differently. But I'm doing this for design, as a design drawing. So 2 by 5 inches is probably enough. Once again, we need this engineered to make sure. And then I'm going to say OK. And so now you can see my frame. Panels are empty. We're seeing the window wall system behind it. And now that I've kind of got that in place, we can come in, of course, change the material on this if we want to, so it's out of steel instead of aluminum. We could change the color of it if we wanted to, make it red, whatever. But basically, if we go back now and look, what we have to do now is make our slats. And I'm going to actually do that in a separate video, so that you can just watch the slat video if you already know how to build the frame.